I got up here. It's nice to be back to Alberta. I miss you guys. Thanks so much for inviting me here today. I've been at a lot of tech shows over the last year, and met John and one last fall at the BC Insulator Association's conference in Vancouver. And I'm not up here to sell you guys anything. I'm not up here to be an imposter. It seems like every speaker that I've listened to around AI isn't really in the trenches doing anything, and they're up on stage trying to position something. My goal today is just to get to know you guys a little bit more and really just offer some tips. I'm actually tired of mentioning the word AI, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are tired of hearing the word AI. I'm not here to fearmonger you and tell you you're going to all lose your jobs, because that's not true at all. So just thought I'd kind of go over some things that I've been seeing and learning. But an interesting fact about the construction industry is that productivity consistently is the least in every other major industry around the world. And I can't figure that out. Is it because we're a labor market? Are we dependent on people just sledging hammers and doing work, or what is it? But it is gaining only by 1% productivity a year. And compared to like some of my financial customers that I work with, that's quite a bit different. Sure. Is that better? I'll talk a little bit more. There we go. And so I look at that as an opportunity. My goal right now, I'm going to be honest with you, is to provide my consulting firm services to the American market, where the money is in Vancouver right now. People are struggling, and I'm going to briefly touch base on our federal AI strategy and just kind of talk to you guys as if we're having a beer and how you guys maybe can approach AI. But this I look at as a big opportunity. And through the things that I go over today, how do we leverage these new tools, AI? It's to make yourself a little bit different than the competitors, to bring a little bit more value to your customers. There's another challenge that you guys are going to have. You're going to be hiring kids. When I started, and I would have applied for any of you guys at 20 years old, I would have wore a suit and tie, and I get guys coming into my office, and they're in jeans, and they're like interviewing me. And I still remember my dad used to saying, you go down there every day of the week until that guy gives you a job, and even to pick up garbage. And I'm just not seeing that. But the younger kids are going to be looking for construction insulator companies that are going to be advancing with technology. That's just how it is. So today I want to talk about how we can be a differentiator to the market, where our customers are going to get more value, and these young kids are going to want to come work with us. Everything I see is about job loss. Every single thing. Anthropic CEO was saying, we need to halt AI because I'm going to destroy the world. My technology is so powerful. Meanwhile, he's on every newscast and every media, and he's getting free media attention. I believe it's just all media gain to get traction. I don't believe in any of that. There was a big report came out that US unemployment is going to reach 10.2% by the year 2028 because of AI. They haven't factored in any of the new jobs that are being created, all of the electricians and plumbers and all of these jobs that are coming up from the new data centers that we're building around the world. They're not even considering the new jobs that AI are creating. So I kind of try not to even listen to the media anymore about this. And luckily, I've got some engineers on my team that I can sit and work with them in the trenches and actually see what's happening out there. But this is a video that I'm gonna play just as a joke for all of us. Oh, if I can get the volume working. That's one thing I didn't test before this, is the volume. Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna describe this to us then. This is Tom and Jerry from the 70s. And the housemaid, she was saying, Tom, you're out of a job because I have the new the robot. And he's laughing. That robot's not going to be able to catch a mouse. And then what happens is she turns it on, and the robot goes out and catches Jerry there, or Tom, and discards him outside, and then sends Tom on his way. And that's kind of what the industry is saying with all of us, and not so much in the construction, but in all the other markets I'm seeing. And that normally when it has sound, it's pretty funny, because that was like from 1968 or something like that. And I also reference this to the year Y2K. I'm 55 right now. In 1998, all we heard was at midnight, every computer system is going to shut down on December 31st at midnight, January 2000. Nothing happened. I was at IBM back then, and they sold 2 billion new laptops and desktops from that fear mongering, and nothing happened whatsoever. So I am comparing this to what we're seeing in the press today, and so for a little bit of show of hands, is anybody not using AI at all right now? Is anyone not having any? So everyone's dabbling a bit. What about number 4 and up, using paid AI or building small AI in their environment or integrating AI? And so we've got 4 or 5 people, 6 people here out of the group. Well, Canada's federal AI strategy came out last week, and I dissected it and I threw it into my own Copilot to see how I could benefit from it. What I'm scared about that is that the TELUSes and the big corporations are going to get all this money, and the little guys like myself and your sized organizations aren't going to be able to leverage this. So I'm really trying to figure that out. But they said the goal is to take Canada's 12% adoption. 12% adoption. I speak on stage. I'm talking to CEOs, CFOs, and COOs on a daily basis, and I'm not seeing 12% adoption in Canada. And maybe they're saying for people that pay for a GBT paid subscription or a Copilot license, that's considered adoption. Well, it's just not. And so I'm hoping that I'm wrong with our $2 billion that's announced, because what I would love to see is that organizations like yourselves and myself could sit down and they say, okay, if you innovate and make that organization's productivity go up more than 1%, we'll fund the innovation so that you guys can get a foundation and a starting point where now you can get more creative with your own organizations. But I'm not sure that that's where it's going to trickle down to, but I can hope. My name is Chris Cade, and like I said, I've been in this industry for a long time. I started in 1992 when I dropped out of SFU to go and take a computer programming course because the university didn't have computer programming back then. And then, numerous years later, I was the first executive at Microsoft without a university degree. So today's agenda, I want to try to introduce you guys where I see the biggest opportunities emerging for you guys. I want to talk about how your leadership skills are going to need to grow. I don't care if you're 25 or 65. Becoming an AI generalist is something that I think we should all do. And it's really not that hard once you start playing with these things. We're going to start to look at our leadership skills, what matters most, in our organization, how we approach new business challenges, how it's reshaping the hiring trends, right? As I mentioned to you before, the younger generation are going to be looking at companies that are utilizing these new tools that are coming out for us. And then just how to move forward with AI and not anxiety. And reality like that Tom and Jerry video is if we just ignore this, our competitors are going to be able to maybe do things we can't. I was with the president of KPMG merger and acquisition a month ago and said, what was the purpose you having lunch? And he goes, I just wanted to talk AI and see what's going on. What his fear is that a 10-person firm is going to be able to compete with them. And that's true. You're going to see very, very small companies explode very quickly because they're going to be leveraging these tools to do all the tasks that humans had to do before that we used to have to hire for. So where AI is creating real business value. The first thing is when I talk to people, they're going to start talking tools, Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude for Code right now is the big one. I think we need to stop talking about these tools. And I just ask them, what do you need the tool for? Oh, because my buddy's making cool videos of it. But what do you need the tool for in your business? We want to talk about outcomes. What are the things that drive you guys nuts, right? Like estimating. Estimating is a long process, or at least it used to be. And now we can get 90% of that work done in minutes, some of these tools. So talk about outcomes. Challenging, very manual process to do an estimation or to bid on an RFP or to look at a tender. That's a challenge that takes human process. So think about that outcome. How do I deal with responding to an RFP quicker? And then we work backwards after we define the manual human process to get there. what tools we can put in place to accomplish that. But I'm even in with some of the biggest firms there are in the States right now, and there's always an IT guy saying, well, I want to use this tool and that tool. It literally needs to stop being part of our conversation, just like the word AI should be not used as much in our conversations. But your operations at scale is going to evolve and change. In my own organization, I have some AI agents that are just emailing 20,000 emails a month to US customers. And they're having dialogue, the first and second, and then the third dialogue, then it will message me to get involved or one of my sales guys. So you're going to see Salesforce being able to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for you if that's an industry that you want to do. Supply chain and real-time operations, you're going to see the manufacturers here, they're going to start offering new AI tools for their partners, to their customers, to their contractors, that you can then integrate into to bring more value to your end customers. So look at your own vendors and your suppliers to see their AI tools that are coming out. Multi-agentic systems, that's where everything is. I've got some demos that I'm going to show you in a bit here. But last year when I spoke, it was really just building an agent. And that's what they call it, an AI agent. And think of an agent as something that can make a decision, and it takes care of a manual task that a human used to have to do before. Well, now it's multi-agentic systems that are coming up. And the things that I thought I knew last year, and even one of the demos that I'm going to show you, my CTO wouldn't want me to show it to you because it was built a long time ago, last January. But now what people are doing is they're building a platform, or we're telling our customers to build a platform. Because what happens is a CFO will say to me that, hey, my guy here wants to just use Claude for Code and start building something. And he's killing it. He's cutting and pasting data over here, and he's making these unbelievable reports. But what's happening is the business is now getting a superhuman employee that's building his own IP, that's building his own moat around his own offering. And he could turn to you guys and say, hey, now that I'm the top producing guy in the company, I'm worth more. And then that IP isn't retained if he leaves. So some of the challenges that we didn't know about last year is this: when people start building their own tools, and I bet you employees of your own or your coworkers are having their own tools when your organization doesn't even know. But what happens is that doesn't retain an IP ownership of starting to transform your company into this new world. So on the screen here, this is an example of a platform that we built for a customer. Okay, they're a financial organization. The CEO took over from his dad. This is a very, very reputable Western Canadian financial organization. The new CEO took over from his dad, and when he brought me into his boardroom, he says, I'm so worried that AI is going to take my dad's company that he's built 50 years up to where it is today. And this guy is literally waking up at 4 a.m. thinking AI is going to destroy my company and it's my fault and my dad's company is gone. And so he told me about how he has 65 analysts, and these analysts have to do a very detailed financial report for them in order to invest in something, whether it's a stock or a mineral or whatever it is. They take in climate, war, indigenous, everything you can think of. This detailed report takes an analyst 6 weeks to create. And he said, can you make this so that my analyst can maybe do a version 1 or an intermediate quality where then he can get involved and tweak it and customize it or take it to the finish line? Can you make it so that the speed to do this dramatically is reduced? And we did this, and version 1 comes out in 4 hours. And this was literally a 6-week project. And the vice president of IT and the CIO and my CTO, we're all celebrating. Like, we got intermediate analyst capability in 4 hours. And the CEO made it very clear, I'm never going to get rid of my 65 analysts. I want to compete against the Scotia McLeods, the Toronto Dominions, the big boys. That's where I'm going after. So instead of my dad's company being lost, I'm going to go after the big guys. Well, the senior analyst in that presentation, we were all excited. He said, nah, I can just do this with Claude. I'm going to cut and paste the data from all these data sources. And I love Claude better. And I couldn't believe that. And that's why part of my speech has changed since the last time I've seen some of you guys. Because that is a big challenge, that individual just wants to retain his own ownership. And now that organization has to look at building a platform to protect their IP. Your employees are their IP of what they're doing for you is also your organization's IP. So protect it. And the next thing I say is, when you're looking at a partner from a cloud provider or an AI provider, we're all in with Microsoft. And it's not because I work there. It's just because they've offered unbelievable tools to be able to make a $50 million $1 million, $1 million a year revenue company all the way up to multi-billions, very productive. It can deal with your sovereignty, your security, your governance, your everything all in one provider. So I went in with Microsoft, but there's Amazon, there's Google, there's TELUS, there's Rogers, there's all these. And then there's a lot of really good local managed service providers throughout Alberta and BC that you guys consider too. But you choose a supplier that is going to be in this for the long term. Talk about how they're going to address security, how they're going to address sovereignty. I don't know if some of you can't have your data go to the US, but Microsoft, we can actually click a button so that it keeps that data just in Canada and never crosses the border. Also, always look at the costs. When that analyst stood up and said, I can just do this for Claude for Code because he had his own subscription, he didn't take into consideration what they're now doing, which is called tokens. These things get very expensive. Anthropic basically had a very cheap offering. Everybody, the whole world jumped on this. And while they adopted and started using it, including these analysts, they said, oh, now we're going to introduce token costs. You might have seen companies like Uber that said, we blew our whole AI budget out in one quarter because we didn't have these token costs ready for our budgeting. Understand your true costs when you're looking at partnerships. Understand that they're going to be here for a long time, that they're not going to be acquired. There's all these other things to consider when looking at AI. But what has happened here is it went from a one-agent environment to a multi-agent environment. So there's 15 agents working under 50, how many is that? 8 or 9 MCP servers. When you build this platform out, you've got a number of MCP servers that are they're the orchestration that can tell your agents down here on what they want to do. And maybe you've got a sales agent or a customer support agent or whatever it is. Up top, these MCP servers know, hey, when I have a question to ask, I don't stop and then go out and ask Chris. What I'll do is stop and then ask another agent and ask another agent. And so these things are intelligent enough to be able to start asking each other to be able to provide the solution to deliver the outcome that you wanted at the beginning. Now, what this does is it's built this foundation for a business. And I don't care, again, if you're 1 million or 500 million in revenues, if you start building this platform out, then other outcomes will come up. Your employees will start to say, hey, I really like this. What if we can do this with it too? And now you don't have to reinvest a whole new governance or platform or foundation to start adding these other outcomes to it. And you can just do this in baby steps. It started with number 1, and then your employees come back and say, hey, what about this? You can add number 2 and 3 and 4. And so an MCP server is called a Model Context Protocol, but it just allows all of your AI to be able to communicate. And that's also including when your suppliers start offering you their APIs to their product, that you can integrate right into your product, into your own AI platform. So use cases, these are the critical things that we want to talk about. And in my demos next, I'll be able to show you some use cases. The purpose of me demoing the use cases is for you to guys maybe trigger some light bulb moments, how this can be applied through your business. Because I talk to a lot of people and I'm like, I have no idea where AI could even help me, right? And the first thing, what I love to do is look at finance. When I talk to CEOs, they all tell me that I'd love to know, we're in the construction industry. That's how we do our sales one-offs. I'd love to be able to forecast when this is going to run dry so I know how my sales need to keep going. That's just finance. He would go down to his CFO and say, can you run me a report? How much sales have we done? And when is this forecasted to be closed and invoiced? So I need to know when our capital needs to be protected. And so that would fall under the quick wins. But basically, there's 4 categories here. Strategic value. That means how valuable will that be to my company, to my own business, if I could do something? And then feasibility, which is ease of implementation. Of course, if it's low strategic value and it's hard to do, we're going to avoid those. But you're going to start putting a list of all these cool things, of all these cool outcomes if I had a magic wand in my business. Say you got 100 of these things on the list and you start going through it. Wow, that one's super strategic to our business, but super complicated. I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to always remind myself of that, but I'm not going to delete it off that list. The quick wins are super simple. Taymor Industries out of Vancouver. I don't know if you guys have ever used them from Home Depot. All the little knobs we buy at Home Depot, they manufacture those things, all the little kitchen cabinet. And what would happen before is they'd have to go to their sales guy. Hey, call your customer down in Arizona. He wants to know these 3 questions. Calls him back, goes down to accounting, says to the accountant, hey, can you run this report for me? And the accountant rolls their eyes at him, gives it back to him. Then he calls back his customer and says, okay, I got it. You got 30% of your order. The other 60 is headed out on Monday, and you paid this much in tariffs. Well, now very easily, within 4 weeks of work, we help them where people in their teams can just do that. And their customer support can just ask that exact question. And they can say to their customer, do you want me to email that to you? Because I can do it right now by clicking a button. Now their customer support line just got closed. That ticket just got closed. The salesperson didn't have to get notified. The accountant didn't have to get irritated by it. And the customer is happy because they got their answer right away. So that was a quick win. It was 4 weeks worth of work. And the one up from that is high strategic value and ease of implementation. Those are ones you want to pursue immediately. That's high value, high feasibility, okay? And these ones, I always follow the low-hanging fruit are in the finance division, even though I'm using it in a bunch of other groups, but there's always something that can make our lives better, whether it's collecting money or knowing where our capital is or helping us. That's where I see some wins. So you can use this chart when you guys are all sitting around and talking about AI, because I'm sure these discussions are going to come up, and categorize it in this way format. Then you know what to not waste your time on, because a lot of people will want to go to this one here, right? They're like, oh, that one's the coolest. That's going to make us the coolest company in the world. Well, that's a big project. Whereas if we do this, and it goes back to that slide I had before, you're starting to build your AI knowledge, your AI foundation, and then you can start rolling that out in your company. So I thought I would do this and just show you just some demos here quickly. And these again are things that I want to do just purely to try to get your imagination going here. This is a ChatGPT that we built for a captain of a vessel in Vancouver. This organization is growing at 300% year after year, 300 to 500%. It's going crazy. They have those big flotels up in Kitimat. They would buy an old cruise ship, retrofit it for staff housing, and they park it in Kitimat or anywhere in the world. And the organization's growing incredibly good. And was using GPT this cat like crazy. And the CEO is like, if this guy burns his boat down because of this stupid AI, I'm literally gonna freak out. And so the risk about using that, first of all, the captain's putting their own vessel information into the public cloud. And the other risk is that it's gonna, if I say, how do I do maintenance on this vessel? It's gonna tell me how to do it like on my Crestliner fishing boat. So there's a lot of risk for power users within the organization. So we sat down with them and engineered a tool where it will only answer specific questions from the manufacturer of that vessel. If we said, we have an oil leak in the engine, please help. Keep in mind that if this was GPT, it was going to be pulling from the public domain. And now it's pulling out from that vessel, which was manufactured in Europe. That has all been built on European electrical standards. So they can't even go down to a local electrical store because of the way that the electrical is built on there. But it's going to start giving you the answers, and you can start going on, please show a technical diagram of the engine, and it will start bringing up engineering documents and everything associated so that you know that that captain is going to get the real answers. And you can even say, please create a technical flow diagram that helps me understand the fuel system, and it would create that on the fly, and that's based on the manufacturer's specs. So you can accurately give answers without the fear of the CEO saying, is this guy going to burn my damn boat down or vessel down? I'm not allowed to call them boats. But this goes on and on and on. And the captain actually said he was going through active pass, and he was asking, hey, which time should I leave tomorrow based on tides? And actually told him to leave an hour earlier because he was pulling some logs with him. And if an hour earlier, the rip tide was going to allow him to get in. So it's not just mechanical, but really it is to save the boat from burning down from other things. This is the very first agent that my company had built for Newmont Gold. Newmont Gold bought Gold Corp, which was a big Canadian gold corp at one time, and then went to Newmont. I was trying to get in there with this the CIO that was a friend of mine from when I was at Microsoft, and he wasn't giving me the time of day. And I called up the GM of the one of their Penasquito open pit mines, and because I knew he was bitching all the time about problems, and I said, "Okay, what's your biggest challenge?" And he said, "Look, I got 5 mechanics, and I got like 15,000 different gas-powered vehicles here. Everything from little ones to big ones. Purchasing buys a different manufacturer year after year. And these 5 guys are doing nothing but reactive repairs on this equipment." And so when I talked to one of their lead mechanics, he said, "Yeah, get a phone call, go down, write down what year, make, and model, go back to my sweaty trailer and start going through service catalogs and Google it." Well, so now, and this was a very simple one. Basically, you can go in and choose. Let me just refresh it to make sure it's live here. Basically, now the mechanic can just take a picture of the broken part. And this is live, so we got to see what happens here. Hopefully, my CTO said I shouldn't demo live, but I'm pretty confident it will work. It's going out and trying to identify that part on its own so that the guy doesn't have to go back to the catalogs. And yep, there it goes. Good. So basically, it identified, it matched the part form. It described what it is and the purpose of that. And it actually will even give you a link right to the actual catalog that the part is on. You know how many times we Google stuff and it says, okay, the data's in here, and you click it and it's page 1 of a 400-page document? This is understanding that what page is on, it brings it right up. So this was just a tool that I built to try to prove myself to the CIO, just to get myself into the door, right? But it gives you an idea where there's problems everywhere, and they may not be anything technology related. This is just 5 grease monkeys that are overwhelmed with the amount of repairs they're doing on auto mechanics, with all the machinery. Here's another one too, with which is a cool one. This was the CIO of the London Marathon, through a partner of mine out there. She had called me and said, "Hey, the CIO wants to talk about a problem they have." And the number one problem at the London Marathon is that 66,000 people from around the world flying. I'm going to try this thing to see if this works. 66,000 people flying in the world, and 30% of them leave their race kits at home. The guy had the stats. 30%. Now, race kits have a little microchip in them, I guess, nowadays. So if you lose that, it's not as easy as just putting on some tape and saying John or whatever, right? And so what happens is they go down to race headquarters, and there was a lineup down the street. And most of these people all arrived 3 days before the marathon, 2 days. And so this lineup was destroying their whole satisfaction and everything like that. So now we built this tool for everybody to have, saying, "I lost my race kit." And basically, it's going to ask me to confirm who I am, driver's license. I'm going to upload it. It's going to confirm who I am, and then it will mail me a time when to come to the race headquarter and come pick it up. It's reducing the line. Cool thing about this is we didn't stop there. We started adding little things like, hey, I've got small children coming with me. They want to watch me run. Where's the best place small children could do? And I can type that in, but my typing isn't very good. And it would say, go up to this hill. It's a great little park for kids. There's a washroom nearby. Or I can say, I'm with the TIAA and we want to go to the bar and get some Guinness. It'll tell us, hey, here's all the great bars in the area. So it made it personal, but it fixed the business problem. That was the challenge, and that's people losing race kits. So the outcome was, can we correct the race kit problem and then add all this extra cool stuff to it behind it as well? Focus on the outcome and the problem rather than the tech tools to do this. And the thing I'm also saying to everybody is to, like, just start doing some basic knowledge on this. You know, maybe get something on your tool and do it for fun. You know, and that way you can start seeing that this stuff's pretty easy to do, and then you're going to start getting more experience on that. Don't fear this stuff. This isn't something that we should fear. Literally, anyone can prompt code. Anyone can do this. I've got customers now that are doing basic education for their employees. Also collaborate. Tell everybody, look, we're not here to take your jobs. We're just here to make your lives more better. And most of the time when we're fixing AI for customers, we're fixing the stuff that the employees didn't want to do, like all the paperwork and the admin shit, right? I know with we built some construction tools before, and the biggest thing was getting guys to invoice after the work was done. It'd go to like a good friend of mine owns Free Service Mechanical, a big mechanical company in Alberta, actually here too, I think. And he said the biggest problem was getting the work orders from my plumbers to submit them so I could bill. Well, that could be resolved right away. You can basically take pictures of the job site pre and post and just talk into it. I did X, Y, Z, and it just creates the invoice and sends it off to accounting or the customer directly. And now that plumber isn't getting disciplined from Vic, the owner, and now that plumber isn't doing paperwork that he doesn't or she doesn't want to do anyways. So embrace this and reward your peers and your coworkers. If you're an executive or leadership of a company right now, I have a customer that's offering whitecap tickets, for anyone that comes up with a cool idea that AI might be able to solve. And the more communication you talk about, and the more fear that's reduced, then more chances are they're not going to think that they're asking you these questions so that they replace you with AI, because that's not what the intent of AI is anymore. I mean, anytime I used to do quotes and stuff like that, it would take me forever to do. Imagine being able to now just, some of you guys are probably doing this. You guys just scan or input PDF files of architectural drawings, and it spits out a quote for you or a materials list for you in a second. And the time that it used to take us to do this type of work was insane. And these types of tools are readily available. At the beginning of the screen, I suggested a whole bunch that are good for your industry. But the funny thing is those tools that I had on the first screen, they're going to go away, because we're going to be able to just talk into our computers in a little bit and say, hey, do an estimate for this job site. This is what I need to do. And it's just going to spit that out for us. And it's going to get easier and easier and easier. And so, again, focus on what you guys are there to do. You guys are there to save energy. You guys are there to create an installation, green initiative or whatever it is that you guys create a niche in your business and leverage these jobs or these tools to do the mundane work that nobody wants to do. Nobody wanted to price out all this manually before. And so this is kind of the big debate these days, right? Like Claude or OpenAI or Microsoft. I've said it before, I standardize with Microsoft because I use Copilot. I use the M365 environment. Every single meeting is in Teams. I don't know if you guys use that. I use Outlook, Microsoft Teams. I use PowerPoint that I'm in right now. And with the latest subscription that I pay for, it collaborates everything. So every meeting I have, I record it. I don't have to write notes anymore. If I forget what's going on, I can just say, hey, I met with Chase and ABC customer yesterday. What was the follow-up? Details it all. Then I can email it to my customers. And again, I'm not cheating. It's just that it's taking away the stuff that I wasn't really good at anyways to do. And so experiment with one of these days. Pay for a subscription. Claude, you might not want to jump into that right away, but Claude and Codex are competitors there. And this is what's going to take away all those apps that I showed you on slide number 1. Because with Claude, you can literally just type into it, I want an app to do X, Y, Z. And the more you describe, the more you tell it what to do, the more it's going to just actually spit out an app that might have cost something like $2-3 million to build 5 years ago. And it'll do it in minutes. We have a board member, and he mandated myself and Chase back there to do things. And Chase was just showing us the one that he built yesterday for the meeting that we had today. And I don't know, it was pretty easy, right? You just basically prompted in what he was doing on these weekly meetings that we were doing anyways. He just told Claude that's what he wanted to do, and it created version 1. But the cool thing about what's coming out with Microsoft is something called Scout. And with Copilot or ChatGPT, we ask it a question, and then it answers us. Where the future is going is these tools are going to start to monitor us and to watch us. And then it's going to suggest to us, hey, don't forget to follow up with John. Don't forget to follow up and send this. You promised him this stuff. And that's where the Scout is, and Microsoft partnered with OpenClaw. So a combination of Copilot where you can ask and receive, Scout is going to start saying, this is what you need to do because I'm observing you and I'm following up with the promises that you made customers or employees or legal or accounting or whatever. So things are evolving quite dramatically. But I do encourage you guys to try that Office M365 with Copilot, because it really makes my 19-person company be able to deliver like the same stuff that maybe 50 people would have to do. Now, where those tools are going to be able to help you guys, like office work running itself, quoting, invoicing, customer communication without phone tag. You guys are going to be able to have you're going to be able to provide answers to your customers 24/7 without needing to physically have a human do that. And that's what people might even start to expect down the road. So, but the function that I put down before, estimating, manual takeoffs from drawings. Now it's take a picture, scan it, upload it. Site inspections. I'm working with Wolf & Wolf Roofing in Vancouver, and they literally, that's all they do is maintenance contracts on roofs. They remove the moss, and etc. And he says, I have to sell the ROI. If I didn't do that work, they're not going to renew that contract with me. And he literally just has the guy, he calls him a 16-year-old, he's more like 26. The guy that's been with him since 16 takes all the pre-pictures of the roof beforehand, then talks into it what he did during the whole time. I fixed a little bit behind the chimney there. I put a little roof coop over there, and now it's all looking good. I'm comfortable with this for at least another 3 months. It spins out a full detailed report, sends it to the customer automatically. And don't expect to do this right away, but why don't you experiment with this where it sends you this first draft, you then read it, and as you get more trust with it, then you can maybe decide to release it where it goes directly to the customer. Site inspections, energy audits, all my proposal writing is now done through AI. I, again, would never send this directly to customers. And I'm actually getting mad at some of my own partners and employees because they're sending me this AI slop. I'm so tired of reading LinkedIn slop that's just been created with, I want spelling mistakes again. I want grammar. I want just the human to do 3 lines rather than a paragraph like that. And I'm telling my team to do that. But it does do really detailed proposals for me now. But then make sure you're the human in the loop, or what some guests on my podcast have said before, you're the human in charge. Use these tools to produce this stuff, but always oversee it until it gets better and more trusting. So some of the things that you guys should consider is, some AI technical training, just basic courses. You can do it from the couch at home. You don't need to go to classroom setting anymore. Pay for a subscription tool. Like my dad was in his 90s. I started getting him the tools, and he was like, I'm never going to use these stupid things. Well, he was using them pretty good at the end there, and he was in his 90s. And he loved writing his family history books, and he was able to even talk and ask it questions, and it was answering them. And so if my dad can do it, you guys, anyone can do it. Use the tools confidently, right? If you're not sharing this stuff, then who cares if it's spitting out real garbage for you to be able to read and to learn about and to modify and gain that trust over, right? But start to use them confidently. It literally really is easy stuff. And the news and all the guys on stage make it sound so hard. My engineers on the back end, those guys are coders, those are advanced architects, that's their career. But guys like me and you guys, we're just going to be users of these tools. So embrace them and do it confidently. Maybe learn about prompt coding. That's where you just type it in. Like, I want to create a proposal based on this meeting, and that's prompting. And it's the more information you can give AI, the more detailed it's going to be able to give you back. Look at your vendors. Right now, anytime like QuickBooks came out, our whole company runs QuickBooks. They launched an AI API, which of course had more cost to it. But when I looked at it, it actually relieved. I've got a contract bookkeeper, and she was spending a lot of time billing me to do mundane tasks that the new QuickBooks AI tool could do. And I was like, shit, $99 more on my subscription, right? Versus, 10 hours of work from my bookkeeper. And so I did that. But look at all of your partners that are offering AI and just check it out to see if it's going to benefit your business. The basic AI risk and responsibility, you guys should learn that because you could accidentally upload some confidential information into the cloud without knowing. I'm in a bunch of brain nerd groups, and one of the guys built this app to do, he wanted to raise capital for an idea he had, and in part of it, he said, let's do a comparable of other companies doing this in the industry. And it brought up the company's financials, and they're a private company. And we all kind of, we forgot what his tool was doing, but we were like, this thing just identified their revenues and everything. So that means somebody at that company uploaded into a free version of AI accidentally their financials to ask it questions, not realizing that that free version, putting that into the public domain, now can be used in anybody else's. So maybe a little bit of training on just understanding the basics. It's literally no different than understanding that, hey, I'm going to lock my door at night and make sure my car doors are locked at night so guys don't steal anything from me. It's not anything to worry about. But the basic security challenges, I highly recommend that all of you guys look in to better understand. So what does it mean for small businesses? Before we hire someone, what do we want that person to do? What kind of skill sets do they have with AI? Meaning that maybe AI, we don't need to hire somebody else. Maybe it's that we just need to hire a really smart economics person, and they can leverage AI tools to do things for our organization. But really look at every single person in our new hire and how maybe we're going to augment with them AI or have AI to do that. Judgment becomes the hiring priority here. I have a friend that I hired that's been in the tech world for a long time, and I find myself every single morning kind of reiterating to him like what I want him to be able to deliver on some content. And it's just been a struggle for me to be able to get him to see what I wanted to do. As I said before, I want just layman's 1 or 2 sentences saying, hey, you want to be on my podcast, or hey, can I help you in any way? I don't want big paragraphs. And he still keeps going back to these huge paragraphs. So the new type of people that we might want to hire are more creative, the people that have better ideas, the people that are better at just being human rather than technical are people who you might want to consider hiring down there. And even with hiring, it's going to get faster and faster for you guys. You might subscribe to tools where it's just going to scan thousands of laborers' jobs, and you might read out something that you had to manually do before. That's going to be able to reduce your time, and then the people that do come in front of you are qualified, and they're more who you want to hire. And so I've said, now how do you move forward with confidence and not anxiety in this AI accelerated workforce? Moving forward with confidence, we want to see AI as a leverage, not as a competition. We want to focus on these outcomes and not tasks or technology or tools. Learn just enough to stay in control, just enough to make a sound decision. Will this investment help me with my sales, whether I'm a salesperson, whether I'm a laborer, or whether I'm a CFO or CO or CEO or founder? Just learn just enough on how this might benefit me. Manage the exceptions, but not everything. So be that human in the loop. You can get it to do a bunch of your work for you, but read it. Don't just cut and paste it and send it off. Double down on your existing staff strengths. If you've got somebody that's been with you a long time and they're incredibly good at that one thing, how do we make sure that they're even better at that, superhuman at that? Take all that other stuff away from them. Let's make them a powerhouse around that. And move deliberately and not reactively. Like don't just go and buy something because your competitor's doing it, or somebody at one of these shows over drinks was talking to you. I don't know how many tech guys I've seen at events over the last year where I started asking them details, and it was pretty clear they were doing nothing, but up on stage they made it sound like they were turning water into wine, right? So just be confident. It's not a race for you guys to do this. It is coming. It is. There's nothing's going to stop this, but it's literally going to starting to see the word AI fade away, and just automation is going to just get stronger and stronger. So I got 6 better tips from today's date, because every time I speak, even in 3 months, things change so much. If you guys are getting leads or business from your website or from online, the old way of doing that is changed. It's not ranking. Google will go away. The way we search for things will be completely gone in the near future. We're going to be just asking, hey, who's the best insulator for me to do this green initiative in Calgary South? And the AI is going to start coming back with, here's the 3 people that we think. And AI is going to start getting that from your blogs, from your LinkedIn, from your content that's out there. So be very strategic about what data you want to print on, and print your data. If you guys just did something that was worth talking about, build a case study. and go and post it on Reddit, post it on your website under blogs, put it on your LinkedIn, because that's where AI is going to start searching for you. And they're going to say, that company over there is the most best and experienced at this, because we searched the internet and found them. So that Google SEO that we used to pay all those guys to do is going to go away. And now it's your content. And so content has to have a niche. The niche is that we're the experts at doing this. And the more stuff you put on your website, in the social, the more AI leads that you're going to start getting, or the more rankings you're going to get. Other one is your data, right? Like, I don't know how you guys manage it today, but my organization, everything is stored in SharePoint. But when I started, I just put it on individual folders. So I'd have Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, and that's called unstructured data versus data structure. It might be your CRM software. But really understand where your data, because that data is going to make you guys more powerful. Your CRM has data, all of your mail has data, all of your meetings have data, all of your construction quotations and invoicing, all of that stuff's data. Centralize it so that when you're using AI, it can pull from that and give you better quality answers to be more efficient. Yeah, the content must answer things and not attract things. We used to be talking about, look at this new shiny car. Right now, it's more about like, look, this is an electric vehicle, or what is it doing, and that's the difference between saying, the new nice shiny car versus gas mileage or green or efficiencies or whatever it is someone's searching for. And distribution beats your website. So AI pulls from everywhere. I'd mentioned that before, but write up the case studies and your examples and bang your chests on the good quality work you're doing and post it on the internet, because that's where people are going to find you down the road. And proof of outcomes equals activities, right? So those are some tips that you guys should start doing. And that's pretty much it for today. I really appreciate this. I'm open here to answer any questions and see if I can help you guys in any way. And this will be sent to you guys too. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.